Bert, I am very interested in religion, and I've talked to some analytical philosophers about how they see either the existence of God or the non-existence of God, as the case may be. I come to you as a phenomenologist to help me understand how phenomenology may illuminate this concept of religion.
One of the things that phenomenology is going to do is talk about religious experience. And we don't need, as you'll see in a minute, to bring in God. And so we can go along with Nietzsche and suppose God is dead as far as our culture is concerned. It no longer is a religious culture. It's a secular culture. And yet there is religious experience and lots of need for religion in our culture, taking weird forms, fanatical forms, and phenomenology might be able to help with that, getting religion back into the form where it was a positive thing that gave meaning to people's lives and didn't need an all-powerful creator, the highest being kind of God. So let me give an example. This is a very important kind of religious experience, namely having a calling in which you feel that you have been called to do something that will give your life meaning if you do it, and your life will be meaningless if you don't. There are famous figures in this story, Martin Luther saying that here I stand, I can do no other, when he turns against the Catholic Church, and that's his job for the rest of his life, and his life is totally meaningful in terms of it. And it's by no coincidence who else? Martin Luther King, the Jr., who also obviously had the calling to give justice for the black people, and that was his life. And then in his final speech just before he's killed, he says he isn't afraid of anybody and he's not afraid of dying. He has seen the glory. The glory is to have been called to do something and to be able to have done it. But you can also find other forms of religious experience.
So even though these people believed in God or believed that they had some direct relationship to a higher concept, phenomenology doesn't deal with that higher concept, but rather concentrates on the personal experience that that person has and see what we can learn from that.
That's right. So it's not, if you've got a calling, don't get all involved in the status of the caller. Focus on the call. And then...
Because that's what we can know for sure, because we can study that and examine that. The other is very ethereal.
We know that it changed Luther's life and it changed Martin Luther King's life, and we can even say lots, as Kierkegaard, who is the main person who thinks about this, and we can come back to that, has lots to say about why we need that kind of calling, being the kind of beings that we are, and so forth, but we can remain neutral as to what the status of the caller or whether there is even a caller.
Right.
The point is that this person feels that they must devote their life to this.
So in essence, we are describing the phenomenology of the person who feels the calling and are remaining neutral, which is a good term, in terms of the so-called ontology, the real existence of some antecedent that call, the person who feels the calling feels that they may be related to.
That's right.
And this would apply to all the historical figures as well, Moses and Jesus and Muhammad and the Buddha and others.
Maybe the Buddha. Buddha's a tricky one because the people who get this calling are generally people who want to change the world in time and in history. I mean, the Buddha wants to get everybody sort of out of suffering. And surely there was some kind of moment when the Buddha realized that was his job, but it wasn't the calling itself which was the meaning. But for the people particularly in the Judeo-Christian tradition of Abraham and Moses and Jesus and so forth, there's where Kierkegaard comes in. Kierkegaard says what's crucial is that they get an unconditional commitment. That's my word for it. He calls it an infinite passion, but that's too fancy. An unconditional commitment, you can get it being in love. I mean, that's a kind of calling, and the way the romantic, no other culture probably but ours, which started way back, I think, in the Hebrew when, who was it, worked for 7 years to get
Jacob, yeah.
to get who? Rachel, was it?
Yeah.
But he got the
Leah.
sister.
Got Leah.
So he had to work another whole 7 years. He
Right.
wanted that person.
Right.
That kind of romantic love, that there is only one person in the world who can give your life meaning, is something very special. And Kierkegaard thinks that Jesus is the one who really focused that as what is most special, in saying that he was God, that it was okay to make him the absolutely important thing in your life, even though he's not. I mean, there's lots of fuss whether he was equal to God, but right now he's walking around at that point in Palestine saying, it's okay to worship me, and not like some dictator, but I can become the most important thing in your life. You will be reborn. I'll give you a new name. And your mission will be this unconditional commitment to me. And that's, I think, not Buddhism, not Japanese polytheism. Kierkegaard thinks only sort of Western Judeo-Christian tradition has understood that kind of calling. And then at the time of Dante, it gets turned into romantic love. The troubadours take over the Bible story and turn it into the knights and ladies story, and Dante brings them together. His savior is Beatrice. And there's an amazing place in the Divine Comedy where these things cross, where Dante's gone through hell and up to the top of purgatory, and now there's a pageant where all the books of the Bible are walking by, and there was a cart being pulled by 4 creatures that represent the 4 evangelists, and there's somebody in this cart which is hidden and covered up, and angels fly overhead saying, "Blessed is he who comes." And then this person takes off this veil. It's Beatrice. Jesus doesn't show up in the Divine Comedy. Beatrice takes the place of Jesus. She's Dante's savior. And that can still go on even where there's no caller. I'm telling you about the phenomena of unconditional commitment is what matters.
Right.